Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and are done wrong. Here we go.
This critical incident community briefing will provide you with information about an officer-involved shooting that occurred in Mesa. We will share relevant video footage, evidence, and police procedures related to this case. This will provide you with a better understanding of what happened based on what we know right now. Mesa Police Department conducts thorough use of force investigations. Typically, investigators interview multiple witnesses, view numerous hours of video footage, and analyze significant amount of forensic evidence. This video will not draw any conclusions about whether these officers acted consistent with our policy and the law until all of the facts are known and the investigation is complete. This video may contain officer body-worn camera video, as well as 911 calls and any other surveillance video obtained as part of this investigation. We need to warn you that sometimes the images and information can be graphic, disturbing, and difficult to watch, and the video may contain strong language. Viewer discretion is strongly advised, especially for young children and sensitive viewers.
On March 15, 2023, officers were dispatched to 326 North Standage for reports of shots fired into an occupied apartment. Other calls came in reporting a black man wearing a dark hoodie and black pants running north from the apartment complex and across University, holding something in his hand. Officers inside our real-time crime center focused cameras on University and Alma School and were able to see a man in a dark hoodie and pants running north across University just west of Standage. The camera showed the man, later identified as 35-year-old Kelvin Harper, go to West University and were able to direct patrol officers to the area. Officers stopped on the frontage road in West University and positioned themselves behind their vehicles. Officers could see a person matching the description walking back and forth between a block wall and a fence that ran between two buildings.
Just went inside the apartment. You guys hear me? He just opened that door. Black male with a hoodie, it looked like.
Officers gave Harper several commands to put his hands up and walk out to them.
He's coming out again? Coming out? Nice, please! Come out with your hands up! Come out with your hands up! Put your hands up!
Can't see it.
Come on out here! Someone take over verbals. Come on out here with your hands up! Keep walking!
Yo, this is the Mesa Police Department!
He just stuck down.
Do what you're told! You guarantee your safety! Come out with your hands up!
Right now.
Walk this way!
Harper put his hands up and down at different times as officers continued to ask him to keep his hands in the air.
Keep your hands up and all of us to follow our commands. Do you understand? You need to slowly walk to the gate. Keep your hands up here and show us the entire time until you get to the gate. Do it now.
As Harper lifted his hands up again, he suddenly pointed a handgun and began shooting at officers.
I'm gonna go Jesus!
Officers took cover and one officer fired several rounds back at Harper, striking him.
The entire time until you get to the gate. Do it now.
Oh, he's not listening. He's ducking down again. Oh, shit.
Here is video captured by a surveillance camera at a nearby apartment. You can see Harper with a gun in his hand. He places one hand up, then you can see he puts the gun between his legs and raises both hands. Suddenly, he grabs the gun again, lunges forward, and begins shooting at officers. The Mesa Air Unit arrived on scene and could see that Harper fell to the ground with the handgun still in his hand.
Falcon's still going to have a 422 in his right hand.
Harper was slowly moving around as officers continued to issue commands. Mesa SWAT officers arrived and secured the scene. They took Harper into custody and rendered life-saving aid. Harper was taken to the hospital and at this time remains in critical condition. A 9mm handgun was recovered from the scene, along with 5 9mm shell casings. Investigators discovered 2 projectile strikes on an officer's vehicle, but no officers were injured. All of the evidence and information in this case will be turned over to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office for review. Thank you for taking the time to watch this critical incident community briefing.
Okay, so let's go back. So they are knowingly responding to a call of shots fired, someone with a gun. The guy leaves the scene and goes somewhere else. So we don't get to see at the very beginning if they had rifles out and ready or not, but we do see that once they are out, there is one person with a rifle out. It is generally one of my chief complaints when it comes to these kind of videos for officers neglecting to get rifles out when they need to be getting them out. So I have no idea if they had rifles ready as they were approaching or not, but I want to talk about having rifles ready when going to a hot call. As you should know, rifles are better than pistols. If you know you're going to a gunfight, bring a rifle. Rifles are more accurate, and the terminal ballistics are way better, and you can get more rapid physical incapacitation of the threat than you can with a pistol. Rifles are generally kept either up in the cab of the vehicle in a mount, or they're kept in the trunk or cargo hold of a vehicle, usually in a rifle case. I think that the best tactic is when a hot call like that comes out, stop the car, get the rifle out, charge it, turn sights on, sling it around your neck, and proceed to call. That way, when you get there on that scene, you have a rifle ready to put into play. It's already out, it's already charged, sights are already on. You just got to lift the damn thing up, aim, take the safety off, and press trigger. If you don't, then you could run into the scenario where you don't have time to get that thing out when you get on scene because you're taking fire or things are evolving so rapidly that you just do not have that time to get the rifle out of the mount, charge it, turn on sight, etc., or go to the back of the car where the rifle is held in the trunk or the cargo hold. You may not have that time to do that. So having it out and ready before you ever get there is the best way to go, in my opinion. So they have what they call an RTCC, Real-Time Crime Center. So that's a pretty cool concept. I know, it varies from area to area on what resources are like. There are some places where the dispatch centers, the dispatchers will have access to, some cameras in town, and they can look at stuff, things like that. Our campus police department here at Western Kentucky University, they have a camera system on campus, and their dispatchers can activate those cameras, pan and tilt them, look, zoom in, stuff like that. It's a pretty cool future, but a lot of agencies don't have that ability. There are some places that have entities like this or groups like this. I would imagine that the larger the agency you get, the more funding, and so the more likelihood of being able to see things like this. I like the idea of having a dispatch center modeled something similar to like a fusion center, where your dispatchers do more than just take a call, log it in the computer, send a unit, and keep notes on what's going on. If the dispatchers have the ability to monitor cameras like this, or if there's someone in the dispatch room who can monitor cameras like this and just talk out loud to the dispatchers, hey, I see this going on such and such street, send a unit. Then they can, initiate those things like that. People who have the ability to still access some of the other databases and can start doing some more in-depth searching into people when a dispatcher may not have that extra time to be on the screen doing that and has to be keeping track of other things, etc. But funding and sizing is an issue for that. So for larger areas, larger towns, larger budgets, that's something that could be done. If you go to a very small county, you're not going to have the funding or the resources to do that. And that's where I really think it would benefit counties if they would merge together with an emergency operations center or communications center. And 3 counties that are pretty small and pretty close together have one centralized dispatch center that can cover all 3 of them. All 3 counties put their funding into it and could have a pretty good dispatch / kind of fusion center type of setup. So this worked out for them. Without this kind of setup, these officers would have had no idea if this dude had crossed the street at that time. But since that person was alert and zooming in the cameras to this area, seeing what's going on, he was able to see the suspect crossing the road, and they were able to communicate that to those officers.
Inside our real-time crime center, focused cameras on go to West University.
So you can see him starting to stop. He's probably getting that radio message like, oh shit, here he goes.
Officers stopped on the frontage road and
you can see the other one starting to back up and trying to get back to where they need to be going to. So really cool setup, but unfortunately a lot of places just don't have the ability to do that because they just can't afford an extra person to do that or the cameras all across town to put them up.
University and position themselves behind their vehicles. Officers.
So he's got an interesting setup going on here. He has a dump. This is most likely going to be a dump pouch. I don't necessarily see the need for a dump pouch on a duty belt, but whatever. This med kit is a pretty cool design. I don't know what particular manufacturer this is, but it is a slimmer profile type of design that can go to the back of his belt, and he can sit in the car, and it may not be very intrusive or uncomfortable for him. I don't necessarily know if this is the best kind of option to have. It appears to be zippered at the top. I don't think having something like this to your back is the best thing to have. I have seen medical pouches, slim profile pouches like this, where on either side it's open, so it's kind of like a sleeve of sorts, and then the actual med kit slides into it, and so on each side of the opening where that pouch sits inside the sleeve, the body of it, there's little handles that you can reach back with either hand and slide that thing out. So you could reach back with your left hand, grab the handle and rip it out, or reach back with your right hand, grab the handle on that side and boom, rip it out. A design like that I think is more optimal. I'm probably wrong, but I want to say ITS Tactical has something similar to that. If you haven't checked out ITS Tactical, I'd highly recommend it. They got some pretty cool products, and they also have a lot of cool videos on their site as well. This officer has his rifle out, which is the right thing to be doing. I wish the other officers had their rifles out. Don't know for sure how many is there. The one whose cameras we're watching, he's got a taser out. Well, no, I'm sorry. The one behind him has a taser out. This one, not really sure what he's got. Something like this. Guy's got a gun. Everyone needs to be having their rifles out.
Could see a person matching the description walking back and forth between a block wall and a fence that ran between 2 buildings.
Just went inside the apartment. You guys hear me? He just opened that door. Black male with a hoodie, it looked like.
Officers gave Harper several commands to put his hands up and walk out to them.
He's coming out again? Coming out? Nice, please! Come out with your hands up! Come out with your hands up! Put your hands up!
Looks like he's got some kind of wrap around his pistol grip. I don't really necessarily see the need for that. I don't think wrapping things around the trigger guard just for texture purposes works very well. As you can see, this thing's starting to fray and come apart anyway. Don't see the need for those kind of things.
Out! Come on out here! Someone take over verbals. Come on out here with your hands up! Keep walking!
Yo, this is the Mesa Police Department!
He does stuck down.
Safety, come out with your hands up! Walk this way!
Harper put his hands up and down
I'm gonna go cheat.
Alright, so at this distance, this person having their taser out makes no sense to me.
pointed a handgun and began shooting at officers.
I'm gonna go
You're not going to be able to engage this guy with a taser from this distance. So them having their taser out is completely useless. They need to have a lethal weapon out. If they're going to have a less lethal weapon out, they need to have something that's going to have some range to it, such as a pepper ball gun, beanbag, 40mm launcher. Taser, not working from this distance. And you're not even going to be able to get probes on the body. With his head poking up, the only thing you could target would be his head. Granted, he has a gun. He is a deadly threat. They can't see that gun right there. But he is a potential deadly threat, and if he were to present himself as a more deadly threat, you could justify firing the taser at the head. But generally, you're not supposed to target the head with the taser, just the torso and the limbs of the body. Even with the long range cartridge on, he's still way too damn far for that taser to be effective.
Officers took cover and one officer fired several rounds back at Harper, striking him.
The entire time you get to the gate. Do it now.
Oh, he's not listening. He's ducking down again. Oh,
So watch
not listening.
him
He's ducking down
react.
again. Oh, ducking down again. Oh, oh.
He tries to fire the rifle, but it won't fire because the safety is engaged. My opinion, when you have your rifle trained on a potential deadly threat, the safety needs to be off. If you've got your weapon up, you're aiming, that safety needs to be turned off. You can continue to index your finger on the outside of the receiver just like you would with your handgun, but that safety needs to be turned off so that moments like this, when they suddenly become a deadly threat, you can start rapidly returning fire. When you're done shooting, safety stays off. Until you take your hands off that rifle and you go to sling it, safety stays off until that point. Now, when you take your hands off and you go to sling it, yes, safety needs to go on at that point. But if you got a good two-handed grip on that rifle, you've got it up, you've got it shouldered, you're aiming towards a threat, that safety needs to be off, because that safety is just one extra bullshit step that you don't need. If you carry a striker-fired pistol like a Glock, you don't have an external safety on that damn thing. You got it in your hand when it's out of the holster. You're perfectly fine at that point, right? Walking around, pointing it down at the ground, pointing at the sky. It's in your hand. No external safety. Everything's fine. You can do the same damn thing with a rifle. You don't always have to have that damn safety turned on. When you go to sling it, let it drop, that's when you turn the safety on.
Here is video captured by a surveillance camera at a nearby apartment. You can see Harper with a gun in his hand. He places one hand up, then you can see he puts the gun between his legs and raises both hands.
What a shithead. A little grin on his face. A little smirk. Huh. This, I guarantee you, this is someone who has been in and out of the system multiple times throughout their life. This is not the first time they've done anything dumb. They are most likely a repeat offender. Now you see him, so he's doing some pre-assault indicators here when he starts looking around. When people start doing that, and they start looking around, looking at their surroundings like that, they start picking at their clothing, they rub their face, touch their nose, stuff like that. Those can be pre-assault indicators that they're about to do something. Now, he's basically in a box of sorts, right? What's he doing? He's looking around. He's thinking of a plan, like, how the fuck am I going to get out of this? What I think that he was planning on doing is I think that he was planning on he probably don't even know the terminology of it, but the tactic of what I think he was probably trying to do was lay down suppressing fire and then run when everyone was ducked down and hiding. That's what I think he was probably most likely doing. The second possibility is he thought that he was going to win a gunfight against multiple officers. Now, as stupid as that sounds, like, I mean, any logical person would be like, dude, you're not going to win that. You have to also keep in mind that when dealing with miscreants like this, they're not logically minded. So it's plausible he could have thought he was going to fucking John Wick himself out of this shit. I don't think it's a suicide by cop kind of thing. I don't think that. I think it's one of those two possibilities.
The Mesa Air Unit arrived on scene and could see that Harper fell to the ground with the handgun still in his hand.
Having aerial assets is a great thing. Unfortunately, there's just not that many places that can afford a helicopter. A helicopter is a very expensive item. Just the airframe alone has a very high price tag. The maintenance for that thing is very high. You can't go down to fucking AutoZone and get a new part for a helicopter. It's not like that. Like, you got to order parts from specific vendors, and there's only so many of them, and those prices are not cheap. The mechanics that got to work on them, you can't take someone who spent all their life working in mechanic shops and oil changing places and hire them, and they come in and start working on helicopters. Like, they have to have specialized training for that. So the cost of the airframe, the maintenance materials, the maintenance personnel, that alone is super expensive. And then the fuel that goes into the damn things, that's even expensive as well. And then the people to fly it. So you got to have more than just one pilot. Like, you think about, shift work. You're going to have day shift, night shift, who's working on the weekends. Like, you're going to have a squad of pilots who are going to, just for one helicopter, for continuous service. Like, you would need a squad of pilots who are going to be able to fly that one helicopter for the week and the weekend and on nights. And those salaries are not going to be cheap. You can't pay a pilot the same salary that you're going to pay someone working the road. Like, that's a very unique skill set that someone's going to have. Lots of training goes into that as well. So that cost is even more staggering. So a lot of places are limited with that, but with technology the way it is now, we have drones, and there's many agencies that will utilize drones to perform a task like this. They'll send the drone over an area, scope it out, see what is going on with that person, see if they're still alive, what they're doing, etc. And I think that's a good tactic to use. There's no sense in people going in there and finding out by surprise that they're just waiting on an ambush. If it takes 30 minutes or an hour to get a drone there to fly it, then that's what it takes. If that person is laying there bleeding out the entire time, oh well. Who gives a shit? No sympathy. They brought that shit upon themselves. They can lay there and bleed for the 30 minutes to an hour it takes to get a drone to fly overhead to see what's going on with that person. If you didn't want to bleed to death, then you shouldn't have shot at the police. That's my opinion. There's also the idea or possibility, if they could see part of him or see a little bit of him, they could have approached from a different angle, deployed less lethals on him, see if they would get a response out of him to see if he was completely unconscious or not. Those are tactics that have been used before that I've seen that I think are good tactics, but you got to have a line of sight on that person. For them, they didn't have a good line of sight because when he dropped down from their plane of view, he was completely surrounded by walls and stuff, so no one can get a good sight on him. The only way to get a good sight on him was with the aerial platform there.
Still gonna have a report.
Continued to issue commands. Mesa SWAT officers arrived and secured the scene. They took Harper into custody and rendered life-saving aid. Harper was taken to the hospital and at this time remains in critical condition. A 9mm handgun.
So I kind of don't think that this was the gun that was recovered. This looks more like a stock photo that they maybe took off of Glock's website or something like that. But this could have been, a visual representation of what he did have. Someone like that, what he's into, I would highly suspect that he is most likely a convicted felon, has probably been involved multiple times with the criminal justice system, and so he probably would not be able to go out to a gun store and buy something like that. So I would not be surprised to find out that it's a stolen gun, or it was a straw purchased gun. He probably could have had a family member or a friend who did not have a felony conviction go out and buy the thing for him. But again, no idea if that's the case or not. None of that information was provided. You got 2 hits in on this vehicle. When it comes to vehicles, vehicles are bullet magnets. They're not great things to be hiding behind. The only part of that vehicle that can for sure stop bullets is the engine block. And of course, he fired into the engine block area where the officer was kind of behind. So he was marginally well covered, I guess you could say. But the rest of that vehicle, bullets go through it very easily. We didn't get to see what the rest of that layout looked like, so I wouldn't be able to comment on if there could have been better forms of cover. But if there was better forms of cover, then I think those should have been utilized versus standing behind a car, because a car It's just not the greatest thing to be hiding behind. All right, that is it on this video. Nothing else to talk about. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.